Hey, Space Shelly here. Today I'm going to be reviewing the the McFarlane Toys DC Multiverse Superman Dark Knight's Death Metal, part of the Dark Father Build-A-Figure wave. We're gonna start off with the scale. I gotta do that. He stands at 7.5 inches, which would make him in centimeters 18.5. So he's a pretty good size. We're going to put him next to some other Superman figures first. First, we're going to put him next to Superboy Prime. I modified him a little bit so he's not the actual height of this figure when he's in the box. I cut down his legs a little bit so he's a bit shorter. I think that's okay. I have this Superman. I forgot the name. I don't think it's Rebirth. Rebirth Superman. Or the Superman and Lois Lane thing. I forgot what it was called. I have this Superman the Infected. I thought they were using the same body, but they're actually not. And we're going to go over that in the aesthetics. Next to this kit bashed Superman I made. They're generally the same size, so I guess that makes sense. Now next to Lobo. Characters look pretty similar. I think Lobo's a good size. I think he should be taller than Superman. And the Mortal Kombat 11 Spawn by McFarlane Toys. So yeah, I think that's a pretty good scale. We're going to talk about the accessories because they're a little bit different on this figure. So instead of them being just hands, he comes with one hand that has a hinge on it. We're going to talk about that in the articulation. This is his dark side kind of hand. It's clenchy, probably used to grab something, but he came with nothing to grab. He also came with this hand, but it's weird because both of the hands come with the ball hinge attached to it, which you don't really see on McFarlane Toys. So I guess that's a cool thing if you want to use a leftover ball hinge if you ever wanted that. He came with his card. He looks way cooler on the card. That's his name, everything you can read there. And he came with his stupid display stand. So let's talk about the aesthetic. Let's zoom in a bit. Let's raise the camera. Okay, so the main problem with this figure is definitely the head sculpt. This doesn't really look like Superman. This looks like a woman kind of, but not really. It's kind of hard to tell. He has these red eyes painted, but they're not painted very well. They're a little bit off. And the mouth is weird too because I don't know if you can tell. Try to focus. Yeah, he has like this line painted in between his lips, so he kind of has like a weird animated mouth thing going on. And his face has a really soft sculpt too, so it looks very weird compared to the card, which makes him look much better. The hair is, I don't know. It's a little bit lopsided and floppy. Doesn't really look nice and flowing like it's supposed to. There's also, I don't think there's any highlights in it, so it's kind of disappointing. But overall, the rest is pretty cool. The logo looks nice. He has all these wraps painted on. He has this dark side type arm with the knuckle dusters on there. He has these chains on, which are pretty cool. and his boots, which are lacking paint though. So that's what he could really use. He could use a nice wash in between all the wraps on his boots and his gloves. Also, this entire arm could use a wash. I don't think there's any paint on it. It looks like there is, but there isn't any. Overall, he's I don't know. The sculpt is pretty good. The pants are not the same from the other Superman figures. I'll bring in the standard Superman mold. They're not the same. He looks like he actually has on pants. This one has on normal superhero type tights. The panel lining is different. The knees are different. It looks like it's using the same general body mold, like for the top and the top torso and the bottom torso, upper and lower. It's a little bit different than the normal one. So yeah, I think that's pretty cool. They should do that more often, where they use other body molds and just modify them a little bit. So yeah, he actually has pretty good aesthetics. I'll give him a 7.5 out of 10. Just swap the head and I think it'll be good. So we're going to talk about the articulation, which is going to be a little bit weird because we're going to have to do two arms separately. So looking up, it's okay. Looking down, he looks down. Tilting, decent amount of tilt. Rotation's good too. It's cool that they were able to do this with long hair, because the hair is very soft and rubbery. Okay, we'll start with the right arm first. His arm goes up that high, goes down, full rotation. He does have this rotator cuff piece. It doesn't really move. It's sculpted, but it's not really useful. The sculpt over here is also molded in. It's probably why it doesn't move. Rotation, hinge, bicep swivel. It's a little bit weird though, because the peg goes into here and the peg goes into there, so you can rotate the bicep independently of the elbow or the shoulder. You can bend his elbow up to 90, and it looks pretty good too, actually, because it's not like this elbow where it's all weird and clunky. I think this one looks much better. But it is a single jointed elbow, so yeah, like I mentioned before, this forearm also rotates, and the wrists are really weird. You can see how long that hinges. When you hinge it down, it goes all the way like that. You can hinge it up like that, but it's really weird looking. Rotation, and the pegs are really big too. I don't know. Weird decision they made. I don't think they really had to do that. They could have just made another ball hinge. This side, the rotator cuff does not work on mine. Arm hinges out, goes down. Rotation. Really squeaky bicep rotation. Double jointed elbows. Like I said, they're all ugly and gappy. Normal ball hinge articulation. Average stuff. He actually crunches forward decently for a DC Multiverse figure. Goes back. You can get him in some good flight poses. Goes side to side pretty good. Rotation. His torso is pretty decent, actually. His leg goes up, but out because of the diaper piece. Goes back pretty far. Thigh swivels pretty nicely. Double jointed knees, but his lower leg is very long, so the proportioning is a little bit off. No boot swivel. He has ball hinges somewhere in his boots. Boots could really use some paint. You see all the buckles and all that stuff. I think it's on a ball hinge. It is. So you can get it. If you crank it, I guess you should be able to get a ankle rocker, and he has a toe hinge that barely works on this side because it's different. On this side, it's a little bit better for the toe hinge. So yeah, overall the articulation is decent. There's some parts that are weird, but they still function. I think the only bad part is kind of the ankle over here not working, and the legs. They don't really. I don't know if I did this, but they can go out barely. So yeah, not really much weak points in the joints. The aesthetics are okay. I think I forgot to rate it. I'll give the aesthetics like a 7. I think I did rate it actually. The aesthetics were like a 7.5. The articulation is a 7. He poses enough, and the accessories are kind of cool. He comes with 2 fist hands and 2 open hands, so that's all you really need for McFarlane Toys figures. I'll give that a 6. So yeah, overall, I guess this figure would be like a 7.5 out of 10. That's what I would rate it, especially since I was able to get this on the spring clearance thing on the Big Bad Toy Store. I was able to get the entire wave for $50. So if you divide that into how many ways, I think this figure is worth it. So yeah, make sure you check out the Patreon. Each tier has its own perks. We're still working on it. We also have a tipping option. All proceeds will go towards future giveaways. It'll go towards better video equipment and also more figures for us to review. So if you want us to do that, that'd be really helpful. Both links are in the channel bio. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you in the next video. Bye.